You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report. We are humbled by your presence. Today is December 6, 2024. You know what day it is. It's a Friday. So it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Reports. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, fresh off a free High Five Friday through the hallways of Madison Grant High School. And I love Central Indiana sports. Susie, of course, is in the control room back at headquarters in Jeffersonville, Indiana. We had one game Thursday evening. Anderson Prep is 3-0 after beating Purdue Poly North 66-33 on Thursday. The Jets have won 3 straight to start a season for the first time in program history. We will also preview all 13 local games for our first big boys basketball Friday night. APA led Purdue Poly North, formerly known as Purdue Broad Ripple, 22-7 at the end of the first and 40-11 at halftime, thanks in large part to senior Lincoln Fathauer, who scored 31 points. He scored 17 points in the first quarter, including 4 3-pointers. The 31 points was a career high for Fathauer. He had 28 last year against Knightstown. Also for APA, senior Marcus McLean finished with 11 points. Sophomore CJ Fletcher 6. Senior point guard Cameron Anderson scored 5. Seniors Zamarian Bryant and junior Courtney McCullough scored 4 points apiece. I spoke with APA head coach Ryan Fathauer following the Jets' historic win.
Yeah, it feels great. The boys were ecstatic after the game. I told them, that's what hard work pays off through the off season, practices, and it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not a place that they're used to being in the past, but it's a good feeling. I told them to enjoy it. So we'll see what the season does. But I mean, as right now, they're playing hard and they're playing for each other, and I mean, that's all you can ask from them right now. So.
All right, Coach, who played well for you tonight?
Lincoln Fathauer, he had 31 points. Yeah.
Great start for him.
Yeah, he shot really well tonight. I have to stat the game tomorrow, but I think Cameron Anderson had a lot. He had a lot of assists tonight, and Courtney McCullough had a lot of steals tonight. So those guys played big. We call him Z, but Zamarian Bryant, he went down with an injury on his finger. He'll be all right, but so he was limited tonight. Marcus McLean played really well tonight. Pretty much every facet of the game, he played well tonight. So those guys played really well. A lot of the subs got in tonight, a lot of the bench. We got deeper in our bench than what we've usually got to do. They played really well, got in and answered their call. So it was fun to watch them play a little bit tonight.
On Saturday, the Jets will try to make it 4-0, obviously for the first time ever, against 0-2 Central Christian, which is also out of Indy. According to the Sagarin ratings, APA is likely to improve to 4-0. They also play Tuesday at 1-1 Cambridge City. We have 13 games Friday, led by our Central Indiana Sports Report game of the night, Pendleton Heights at Lapel. These previews are going to be shorter than normal. I'm a little behind on Friday afternoon, and Michelle Garman and I previewed several of these games on Thursday evening. That is segment 110.3. You can go find that one. We'll go deeper into Friday's previews beginning next week, now that I've figured out the schedule. And our weekly weekend games to watch segment will run on Thursday mornings, hitherto. Class 2A number 6 Lapel is 1-0 after beating Frankton 61-50 in its season opener. Pendleton is 0-3 after losses to 4A number 13 Anderson, 2A number 1 Wapahani, and 4A number 14 Westfield. So this will be their 4th straight game against a ranked team. Pendleton has dominated the series with the Bulldogs over the year, including a pair of 13-point victories the last 2 years. And this year it should be a very good one. According to the computer-based Sagarin ratings, which we're going to use a lot on the Central Indiana Sports Report to kind of give us an idea going into games, what to expect, Lapel is favored by 3 points. Of course, it's so early in the season that the Sagarin ratings need to be taken with a giant grain of salt. We spoke with Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry in his first ever appearance on the Central Indiana Sports Report about the games on Friday's Games to Watch, which, like I said, we release Friday morning. That segment's 110.3. Please go find it. Rivals Western and Northwestern have split their last 6, with Western beating the Tigers 59-45 last year. Northwestern is 2-0 and beat Pioneer to start the season, then won 66-41 at Lewis Cass in the program's first Three Rivers Conference ever. Western is 1-1 after a loss to Kokomo and a 5-point win at Twin Lakes. Jeff Sagarin's ranking says Northwestern is favored by 10. Michelle and I also talked about this one on Friday's Top Games podcast. Hamiltonites rebounded from a 38-point loss to Class 4A number 4 Noblesville in its opener with a 63-36 win over Clinton Central on Tuesday. The Huskies go to the famed Chrysler Arena in Newcastle, of course the world's largest high school gymnasium, to face 1-1 Newcastle. The Trojans beat Blue River by 39 points, then took a 7-point home loss to Marion. Newcastle won 51-37 at Heights last year and has beaten the Huskies 4 straight times. Sagarin says the Trojans will make it 5. They are favored by 14. Tri-Central looks for its first win after opening the season with a 64-40 loss to Tipton. When the Trojans visit 0-2 Cowan on Friday night, the Blackhawks have been beaten by 42 points at Sheridan and 15 points at home against Hagerstown. The Sagarin rating says Tri-Central is favored by 2, but if the Trojans are as good as we think they are, they will win by more than that. Eastbrook goes to Shenandoah to face the 2-0 Raiders after opening the season with a tough 3-point loss at Northfield. Class 2A number 16 Shenandoah opened the season with a 27-point win over Daleville, then beat Blue River by 23 points on the road. It's the first game for the two programs at least in the last 40 years. The Sagarin rating says the Raiders are 13 points better so far this season. After beating Connorsville 48-36 in their opener last Saturday, the Class 3A number 13 Delta Eagles play 4A number 16 Mount Vernon in their conference opener. The winner instantly becomes a contender with Class 4A number 3 Greenfield Central and 3A number 5 New Pal. Man, what a great conference. Can't wait to get out and see some of those games. Mount Vernon is 2-0 with wins over Lawrence Central and Lebanon. The Marauders have beaten Delta 5 straight times, including 53-51 in Fortville last January. Sagarin says it's a toss-up. Mount Vernon is favored by less than a point, according to the computers. Should be a great win between two really good teams. People are sleeping on Kokomo. Don't do it, man. Do not do it. They lost Flory and Carson, of course, but this is still a very talented team, and I don't need to remind you that they have a fantastic coach. Somehow the Wildcats aren't ranked, although they are 5th in the Sagarin ratings, but they probably will be ranked soon. Kokomo scored 98 points in their season opener against Western. Friday's opponent, Peru, has had some really good teams lately and might have one again this year. The Tigers started this year with a 29-point home win over Logansport. Kokomo is 33-7 against Peru over the last 40 years, but the Tigers have won 2 of the last 4 against Kokomo. Sagarin says Kokomo is favored to win by 22 points. It's been a great series over the years, but Wapahani has dominated lately with 7 wins in a row over Winchester, including 78-44 in Selma last season. They face each other tonight in Winchester. Wapahani is a huge favorite. The Sagarin rating says Raiders by 21. Taylor's 2-0 for the second time in the last 15 years and appears to have one of its best teams in a long time. The Titans are 2-0 against 2 non-IHSA teams. On Friday, they play their first IHSA team, 1-1 Northfield. The Norse lost by 18 at Huntington North, then beat Eastbrook by 3 at home. Northfield leads the all-time series 5-4. However, Taylor beat the Norse by 31 points last year, doubling them up 62-31. Sagarin says it will be another easy win for Taylor. They are favored by 19. Sheridan and Clinton Central face off in a big early Hoosier Heritage contest Friday. Sheridan is 1-1, having beaten Cowan by 42 points and took a tough loss on the road by 5 points at Southmont. The Gophers beat Frankfort by 40 points in their only game so far. Clinton Prairie's won 4 in a row in the series, including 57-51 last year in Frankfort. The Sagarin rating says the Gophers by 5. I think it'll go the other way. Yorktown is 2-0 after 2 big wins and will likely be 3-0 after Friday's home game against Burris. The Tigers beat Hagerstown by 9, then Greensburg by 8, both at home to start their season. On Friday, Yorktown plays 0-1 Muncie Burris. The Owls lost by 35 points in their first game Tuesday at Frankton. Yorktown leads the series 35-7 over the last 40 years and beat the Owls 66-21 last year for their 10th straight win in the series. Sagarin says Yorktown by 57. Daleville and Monroe Central meet in a Mid-Eastern Conference game Friday. Should be a pretty good one. Daleville is 0-1 and lost 60-33 in its season opener at 2A number 16 Shenandoah. The Golden Bears are 1-1 with a 15-point win over Winchester and a 23-point loss to a very good Northeastern team. The Broncos beat Monroe Central 51-50 last December, but Monroe Central has dominated the series 30-12 over the last 40 years. The Sagarin rating says Daleville by 3. And finally, Class A number 1 Liberty Christian took 2 early losses this season. An expected 3-point loss against Anderson and a big surprise 6-point loss at home to Shortridge. The Lions look to bounce back Friday at home against Purdue Poly North, a team that just lost 66-33 to Liberty's rival, Anderson Prep, on Thursday. This one's going to get ugly. Sagarin says Liberty by 37. We say Liberty by as many points as they want it to be. And now you know everything we know about Central Indiana basketball. Thank you to APA head coach Ryan Fathauer for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. We look forward to working with the Jets throughout the year. Thanks most of all to you for listening. You are what makes the podcast go. Please, if you haven't done so already, go like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or now at YouTube. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report on YouTube and you will find every single one of our podcasts over the last couple of weeks. We are growing fast. We've had record numbers of listeners the last couple of weeks, but we'd like to grow even faster. It would really help if you told a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.